Welcome to the Co-Authoring Chronicles podcast, two voices, one tale.
Hello, everyone. I'm Helen Corvis, and I'm here with my co-author.
Good day, everyone. This is Steaphan.
So we have a fun show for today. We thought we'd like to go back as authors and re-look at some of our childhood favorite books. I think that there's a lot to offer from examining the work of other authors and sometimes maybe even remembering what it is about their work that might have inspired us or changed our lives. That's one of my favorite things about reading is how it can change your life. So I know I have picked an old childhood favorite of mine. Mine is called The Westing Game. How about you, Stefan? What did you pick?
I picked Cold Moon Over Babylon by Michael McDowell.
Okay, so what I love about this is I have never heard of your book.
Mhm. I didn't remember it. I'll get into it.
All right, so I'll go ahead and start. So my book's called The Westing Game, and it is described as a puzzle mystery by Ellen Raskin. It's a winner of a Newbery Medal, which is an award, I believe, for younger readers, and published in 1978. And what I think is wild to look back on this book for is, first of all, I remember I got this through the Scholastic Book Club, actually. It was ordered through, do you remember Scholastic Book Club?
Yes. Yep. I love those things.
Right? They were so exciting. What a great
Mhm.
way to start reading.
And they had the little magazine too.
Right? Oh, super
I think I
cool.
had the magazine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was kind of sad to discover that Ellen Raskin has since passed on because this book was such a favorite of mine, but I guess it just means passage of time, but her book has continued to go on past her for impact on my life. So
Mm.
that's also super cool. All right. So the thing about the Westing Game is what I've realized when I've looked back on it is I'm going to read the back, which is something just a little bit that's pretty interesting about how they kind of marketed it, right? So it says, who dares play the Westing Game? Can you solve the mystery before they do? Only you have all the clues, but you're competing against some very clever players. Doug Hu, the high school track star, Angela Wexler, the beautiful bride to be, and it goes on. And the way that they marketed it, even when I introed it, a puzzle mystery, is it made it seem like it was a kind of a collaborative way that used the reader could also be part of the book. And I thought that was pretty clever because the thing is, I know what drew me in as a child was thinking, oh, I feel like I'm reasonably smart. Maybe I can solve this mystery. Of course, I did not. I didn't solve the mystery,
Mhm.
and I didn't even feel bad about it though.
Well, was it written in second person or when
It,
you
it
say it involved you?
oh no, that's the thing. It's actually a third person. It's
Oh.
third person written in third person. And I think the difference is when they say it gave you the ability to have all the clues is because you could read it alternates the viewpoints from
Oh.
all the characters or almost all 16 characters. So that was the idea. And it's as a concept, I think it's pretty neat. That usually switching between that many characters is kind of a no-go, right? But in this case, it was is really a fun part of the way that the book is presented.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I'll just read the very first page because I love how it draws you in. The sun sets in the west. Just about everyone knows that. But Sunset Towers faced east. Strange. Sunset Towers faced east and had no towers. This glittery, glassy apartment house stood alone on the Lake Michigan shore, 5 stories high, 5 empty stories high. Then one day, it happened to be the 4th of July, a most uncommon looking delivery boy rode around town slipping letters under the doors of the chosen tenants to be. The letters were signed Barney Northrup. The delivery boy was 62 years old, and there was no such person as Barney Northrup.
E-
Yeah. So that's how it started. So that's kind of the callback that I want to share. I still have this original copy that I purchased or I guess my parents purchased for me as a child, and it's been on my bookshelf like this whole time. And I guess to me, what's made it enduring is that even though I do know how it ends, obviously, I kept it, because I just loved how the characters were described. And I love the idea of the mystery. It was definitely more than just a mystery. So, that's I think I can see why it was a winner of the Newbery Medal.
Wow, that sounds good. And I think you mentioned to me that you had read this book several times.
Yes, I have.
Um, wow,
Mhm.
that's it's fascinating to me because I know lots of people do read, and a lot of people watch movies they love many times, read books that they love many times, and I'm like the opposite of that. I'm like, why would I read it once. Why would I ever do it again? Um, uh, maybe that's the reason why I don't like editing when we write books. I like writing new stuff, but I don't like editing. I was like, why would I write it a second time? Um, anyways, I don't know. It could just be me, but it's amazing to me that
Yeah.
you do that.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you get out of it every time. I feel like good books, you kind of notice something different every time, perhaps.
Yeah. So my story is going to be a little bit different.
Mm,
And mostly because I remember it differently, and I did not read it several times, but I do remember maybe the impact on defining my appetite for reading. Does
mm,
that make sense?
yeah, sounds impactful.
Yeah. And when we first started talking about recording this topic on, books that we read when we were young, um, I honestly thought that this story was from Stephen King.
Mm,
And so I had to go back because this is a 1980 book, published in 1980, um, called Moon Over Babylon. And I had to go back and do research to find which book it was. I had to go look at old book covers.
oh,
And
wow.
no, that's not the story. And that's when I realized it wasn't Stephen King. And I remember that there was Babylon in it. I remember it was spooky. And I remember a mention to the river Styx. This town that these folks live in the story, there's actually a river Styx in there, which is a little bit spooky, right?
Yes.
And so then I found the story. I'll give you a quick synopsis of what it's about. It's a Southern Gothic horror, again, written by Michael McDowell, published in 1980, set in a small fictional town in Alabama called Babylon. It blends the elements of crime, family drama, and supernatural horror. It primarily revolves around the Larkin family. They have a dark secret, the restless ghost of a young girl named Margaret who's been brutally murdered decades ago by the town's wealthy and influential Redfield family.
Mm,
And so it goes on, but you get the gist. And I guess that's why even today I like writing books that cross genres because here there's crime, supernatural, family, all of these things thrown together in the story. What I remembered is that it scared me and I liked it. It was spooky and creepy and I liked it. And that kind of framed the types of stories that I enjoyed. I want to say 10 or 11, maybe
mm,
12 when I read it. It's definitely an adult book. It's not a children's book. I've always, always liked reading books for adults. I never was a young adult type reader. So
mm.
young adult style books. Here's some vague scenes I remember. Like there is a chapter 7. They're in a graveyard, burying a freshly deceased pet. So it's a pet
Yikes.
graveyard.
Mm.
And then the kid, James, who's burying it, is like attacked by a swarm of insects. And they're inferring that it's summoned by Margaret, the murdered girl. And some of the bugs start burrowing into his skin,
Oh my god,
sting him,
okay.
you know?
Nope, nope, I can see why you thought this was Stephen King. I, like,
Yeah,
get a very clear image here.
yeah. Yeah. I don't have a lot to say. I don't have much detail, as you do, but I think it did really impact what I ended up reading and probably am writing today. Because I do like my first series of Evil and Angels, spooky, demons in it. Definitely edgy, not young adult. Maybe that was the reason why. So,
Yeah. That's I think it raises a good side question. Like what is technically young adult
mhm,
these days, or not even these days in general, because my book, like, there's actually like people die in this book.
mhm,
So I guess it's almost like the movie ratings, right?
mhm.
This book is only 180 pages long, the Westing game. So I don't know if that's part of it, or maybe the fact that they're never really explicit. I mean, there, I don't know. It's a good question. Probably not one to dig into today, but
Mhm.
um, man, Stefan, your book,
Yeah.
what a good choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a decent book. I mean, I don't know if it would be considered a classic, but it
Mhm.
got me going. So,
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I
yeah,
think it's just like a nice reminder. So maybe if you just want to take a moment as an author to kind of think about where it is you've come from, even in these little unexpected places of your memory. I don't know.
yeah, definitely so. All right. Did you have anything else you want to add before we wrap this episode?
No, I think it's every time you ask me, I say no, and then I
Mhm.
say something.
Yes,
Um,
that's our thing.
it's our thing. It was actually really nice to go back and look at the Westing game. I know that at the time of recording, we're coming up on the fabled New Year's resolution time period. And I think one of my New Year's resolutions that I'm thinking about doing is actually reading more in the next year. So
That's a good resolution.
yeah.
Right. Yep. All right. Well, with that, everyone, I'd like to thank you for joining, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.